So today we're going to be talking about asymmetries. This was brought to my attention by one of the former athletes that I used to help train at Cranford High School when I was volunteering as a strength coach. This one's for you, Duran. He was a good kid and he always listened really well and tried his best. So for that, if anybody does that, you better believe you're getting a podcast episode for it. So the question was, that he got into an accident a while back and got injured, did PT, and now he's got this glaring asymmetry with his arms, and one's stronger than the other due to the fact that he was out of commission for a while on the one side. And this happens to a lot of people, like whether it's like whatever limb it is, or like limb being your arm or your leg, or even if you have just one side of an injury, sometimes this stuff can happen. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, because a lot of times when people think, oh, I have this asymmetry, I'm 100% going to get hurt if it keeps up, because you hear people say that, when it's like, it's not 100% true. Because when it comes to sports especially, some of the most asymmetrical athletes out there are some of the best, especially when we're talking about like single-sided rotational athletes. I'm talking like pitchers for baseball, or lacrosse players, or bowling, like professional bowlers, like all these people doing that one side over and over and over again gets that side to be a lot stronger than the non-dominant side or the non-working side. And you see that a lot of them have no issue. Like, you're not seeing these crazy overuse injuries when everything else is taken into account and taken care of. So that could be what is making them elite, because if you go and train and tell them, oh, we got to fix this asymmetry, and all of a sudden you're leveling it out and they don't have this pattern that favorites the one side, that could actually decrease their performance. So you'll see like a lot of like high level athletes don't necessarily go after the asymmetries. They just work with it and try and improve. But the only time you really should be concerned with asymmetries is two reasons. Now, number one is if it is affecting performance. Like if you are trying to do something, say powerlifting, and you do a lot of barbell stuff, and one side is weaker than the other, and the barbell that you're using is off balance, like that can keep you from performing your absolute best. So in that case, yes, it does make sense to fix asymmetries. And the other one is if it hurts, like if it's causing an injury of some sort, where like if you fix that asymmetry, all of a sudden the pain goes away, then it's like, okay, that's good, because sometimes that can happen. Like if you have an injury that you don't know what's going on, all of a sudden you go to a physical therapist, they give you a bunch of different tests, a bunch of different screens, and they find that your mobility is off on one side. Then all of a sudden you fix it, and then it's like, oh, the pain went away. Then yeah, that would be a good case for it. But it does not mean that asymmetries will cause pain, if that makes sense. It can definitely help relieve pain, but it will not inherently cause it. The injuries usually happen from lifting technique that's not exactly the greatest, and adding a lot of weight on top of that. So it's more a loading case and a volume case than it is necessarily an asymmetry issue, if that makes sense. So that all being said, let's talk about how to fix these asymmetries if you find yourself in that camp where your performance is getting hindered, or you feel like a nagging tweak or something like that coming on, where you think, hey, if I balance this out, maybe it'll help nip that in the butt. Then one of the best things you could do is get into single leg or single arm training. So when it comes to single leg, you don't necessarily have to ditch any modalities like a barbell or a trap bar or anything like that. You stagger your stance, you do a Bulgarian split squat or something like that. And when it comes to single arm, you could use dumbbells, kettlebells, landmine, anything like that. And you could play around with it. You could do one dumbbell at a time, and that's a lot more core involved, which is great for helping you touch up your form and integrate the core into pressing and pulling movements. Or you could do two dumbbells at the same time, because that's kind of like a hybrid. It's not necessarily like you're using both arms equally at the like you are with a barbell, but it's not as challenging as it is doing it just with one dumbbell or one kettlebell, because there's no balance component there. So you could push a lot more weight or pull a lot more weight, and you'll be able to reap the benefits of doing quote unquote single arm training. And once you've mastered that and you've pretty much leveled out as far as like arm to arm or leg to leg, and you feel like you're pretty even, then you could go back to doing like barbell, regular squats, front squats, like basically two feet on the ground exercises, or using two arms on a barbell or any other attachment, any other bar that requires both hands on at the same time that doesn't allow you to press individually. I hope you guys are staying with me. Some of this stuff can be tough to like visualize in your head, but I'll do my best to paint the picture. And now let's say that you do the dumbbells, because this has happened. Like some people just have these old injuries that they've had for years and years and years, and it's like that one side is just always weaker. It can take a long time. Now, you can speed it up a little bit by doing a couple of things. One is throw in an extra set for that one side. So let's say you're doing a single arm dumbbell press and you get 3 or 4 sets on both sides. Do an extra one on the weaker side, and that'll help speed things up. Another thing that you could do is just keep the same weight, ride it out. It will eventually get close enough. And along with that, what you could do is once you're all done with the set that you're doing, say you're doing, again, dumbbell bench press, because this is an easy concept to visualize. When you're done doing your bench press, dump the one dumbbell and then use both hands to press the other one up, and then do eccentrics. So really slow, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then punch it back up. But if you need to, use the other hand to help you up, because you're going to be pretty tired at that point. So doing extra eccentrics, like maybe 2 to 5 of those, depending on how heavy of the weights you're using, would be really, really good for like 3 to 5 seconds on the way down. And those are a couple of ways that can help with that. I think I covered everything. Just when it comes down to it, one of the best things you could do when it does come to asymmetries is see a professional, find a physical therapist, and address those imbalances when it comes to mobility, and see where your weak points are. And then when they give you those exercises to do as homework, do the damn exercises. Do the damn exercises, because a packet of what you should do is no good if you're not actually doing it. And then once you're done with physical therapy, do the ones that you think provided the most bang for your buck. Now, you could literally take that packet and that is now your new warm-up. That's one of the best things that you can do. But let's say you're pinched for time. Pick the ones that you're like, okay, this one really felt good. Like or after I did this one, it really felt like I was in a good place. And keep 2 or 3 of those in your normal warm-up and keep on doing them. And then let's say that still doesn't do the trick. Then hire a personal trainer or an online coach and have them program, because a lot of times, like I said, this asymmetries can be from bad programming. You're just going too heavy on a really crappy technique, and that can lead to bad things or subpar performance. So that step 1, PT, step 2, personal trainer or online coach, where they could videotape your form. And that should be all that you need. But if you need anything else, if you follow these tips and you're still kind of stuck, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to help. But until then, hope you guys have an amazing rest of your week. Go kick some ass. I'll see you next time.